number one, I don't believe that the First Amendment gets superseded by anything. Okay, I've said that from day one. I believe that. I believe it to be able to be litigated, and I believe we will lose. Our attorney, by coming out publicly and saying that he believes that some kind of decorum rule or Roberts rule or whatever that might be would quite possibly supersede the United States Constitution. I believe the First Amendment, I believe all of our amendments are the basic principles, the founding principles. And I disagree with colleagues here, you know, when we talk about all things like guns or whatever it is. If it's in the Constitution, it's here. It's what we live for. It's what our men have died for, what my grandfather and uncles have went to war for. They went for all of that First Amendment stuff. And while it might be offensive, and I say I understand the word offensive, and it goes back to what my council vice president said. We opened up Pandora's box, and I said this before. My generation with George Carlin, we opened up that box, and now we're not happy because that box is getting pressed to a certain limit. And I don't think that once the box is opened that you can try to close it without costing this municipality hundreds of thousands of dollars in litigation and then payments.
What's up, guys? I just want to do this video really quick. It's going to be about a councilman who stands up to the rest of the city council members, and he basically lets them know that they keep trying to violate the First Amendment, and they have been violating Christo from Jersey Watcher, his rights for a long time, and possibly, I don't know how many folks they've been violating their rights by shutting them up and stuff like that. But this guy right here, I've always seen Richard Brescher kind of stand up for Christo, and not just Christo, but, you know, for what's right. And what he says right here and what he's about to say and how he's about to stand up to these other city council members, I believe should be studied by other city council members so that they can do the exact same thing as well and learn how to stand up to tyranny and bullying tactics by other city council members. I know possibly many of you are afraid to lose your jobs or afraid to go against what their agenda is. So definitely check this out. I think this guy is amazing. And this is what we want to see in government, folks. If we're going to have government, we're going to have councilmen and stuff like that. We need to see people standing up for the First Amendment, for the Constitution. And I absolutely really do appreciate what this guy says. So without further ado, let's check this out.
For how public meetings are to be held. The public meeting, the council meetings, they're to be held in order to conduct the business of council. It's the Open Public Meetings Act that requires that, in addition to that, the public be given an opportunity to speak or to address. There are as many different variations on how those rules are implemented as there are municipalities in the state of New Jersey. There are public meetings where the time is limited to less than 5 minutes, where no council members are to address questions from the audience, where any questions that are posed are to be written down and addressed at a later council meeting to be determined at some later date. There are restrictions and permissible restrictions on the free speech portions of it across the board. If unfettered free speech were the rule of the day, then every member of the audience right now could be shouting up here to address the council however they want while they try to conduct business, and there wouldn't be a thing that could be done about it. However, if that were the case, you wouldn't be able to accomplish the purpose of the meeting, which is to conduct the business of the council. Now, if you notice, there's been the occasional use of curse words tonight during people's addressing of the council. That is maybe distasteful, but it doesn't necessarily violate the rules of decorum. The instance that we're all talking about, the instance that we appear to all have very strong views about, is an instance where I don't think there's, well, I won't say that. I'm not going to speak for anyone up here, but where there was a great deal of volatility, a great deal of exceedingly vulgar language being directed at a specific member of the administration.
I saw Deputy Chief Dudash. He's a media coordinator. I asked him if he had an update on the predator catcher case. He says no. He had a lot of slander to say to the media. Through the chair to Deputy Chief Dudash. Deputy Chief Dudash, would you like to admit that you guys were 100% wrong with the predator catcher case and that it was full of lies and that's why I beat the case? You accused me of luring sexual predators to town. That was not true. You accused me of having a predator catcher YouTube channel. That's also not true. You accused me of threatening to cut off somebody's penis. That's not true. You accused me of criminally restraining a child predator, Deputy Chief Dudash. Are you stupid? How can you criminally restrain a child predator that volunteers to have a consensual conversation inside a vehicle because it's too cold outside? And I'm just the cameraman.
Please address the.
I am. I said through the chair to Deputy Chief, and I am allowed to speak to him.
But look at me. Yeah, face me.
You can say
I understand. I understand he's a coward with zero integrity, but he should come out and say the truth. That it was all full of lies. Are you aware that one of the predators is the son of a police officer and that all his charges were dropped? Are you aware about that? So Deputy Chief Dudash, you guys make me sick. You're a piece of shit. Your whole department's a bunch of pieces of shit. I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you as I'm speaking to him.
the language.
Rosenfeld versus New Jersey says I'm allowed to curse. I'm on public property. Deputy Chief Dudash, I think you're a piece of shit. I think the Edison Police Department, the officers are pieces of shit. How much time do I have left, Marlena?
You're almost at
A minute?
You're about to be.
The Edison police are the biggest scumbags. They're pieces of shit. They're a bunch of assholes.
Crystal,
Yes.
I understand you have a lot of admonishment for this, but we got the
The
message.
Deputy Chief Dudash can go fuck himself. He's a fucking asshole. He's a fucking piece of shit. Rosenfeld versus New Jersey, I'm allowed to curse where the guy said motherfucker many, many times at a Board of Education meeting. I dare you to remove me. I dare you to remove me. Deputy Chief Dudash, you're a fat piece of shit. Fuck you. Fuck your whole department. The fact that these people support child sex predators, not until my time's over, Lozman versus Riviera, I cannot be disrupting a meeting if it's my time to speak, Marlena. You are such a piece of shit, Deputy Chief Dudash. Why don't you say the truth? Why don't you say the truth that I'm innocent because you guys lied? Would you like to say that? Would anyone up there from the council demand answers from that fucking piece of shit? Go fuck yourselves.
And being done repeatedly.
Hey, no talking, please.
That's
Please sit down.
an instance where
Council President, as a point of order, to courtesy to Councilwoman Harris, could we go and do, this is such a deep dive, and I do appreciate the subject, but I think it just,
I
for those who are listening, those who are waiting, and I'm thankful for those who had a chance to speak, chose not to curse. But I think this is a roller coaster. Thank you.
Reminds me of George Carlin's 7 words you can't say on TV. And so I'm troubled by this, and I'm not sure how this gets litigated in the long run. So I'm left feeling unsettled. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Anybody else?
Just as a point,
Councilman Bishop.
I'd like the public to note that it's 7:35. It's probably the earliest meeting, double meeting, that we have ever had, right? And this is an important discussion, I believe. In fact, probably one of the most important discussions that we need to have as a body, okay? And it's only because this has led to many, many meetings that I have gotten calls by the administration where they said the meetings were, let's say, dysfunctional, okay? And a lot of it is because decorum in the meeting devolves into chaos. I don't think that we should stop this discussion. I think Council Vice President should finish getting her answers. I have questions myself.
Okay, you can ask.
And I'd like to kind of get to this. So if Council Vice President would like to finish, and then I'd like to speak afterwards.
No, I'm ready to yield to you, Councilman Brescher.
All right. Where I'm going with this is, number one, I don't believe that the First Amendment gets superseded by anything. Okay, I've said that from day one. I believe that. I believe it to be able to be litigated, and I believe we will lose. I also would like to make a statement here that I believe our attorney, by coming out publicly and saying that he believes that some kind of decorum rule or Roberts rule or whatever that might be would quite possibly supersede the United States Constitution, has now opened up this body to more chaos. So I believe that our attorney, through his words and his actions, are opening this body up to thousands of emails that we've received throughout the years about this type of event. And I just think that that's wrong. I believe the First Amendment, I believe all of our amendments are the basic principles, the founding principles. And I disagree with colleagues here, you know, when we talk about all things like guns or whatever it is. If it's in the Constitution, it's here. It's what we live for. It's what our men have died for, what my grandfather and uncles have went to war for. They went for all of that First Amendment stuff. And while it might be offensive, and I say I understand the word offensive, and it goes back to what my council vice president said. We opened up Pandora's box, and I said this before. My generation with George Carlin, we opened up that box, and now we're not happy because that box is getting pressed to a certain limit. And I don't think that once the box is opened that you can try to close it without costing this municipality hundreds of thousands of dollars in litigation and then payments.
Let me pause really quick to remind you guys that Christo's rights have been violated many times in that building right there. And has stood up to them plenty of times, over and over again. And he's brought a case law with them, just letting them know what they're doing is wrong. And I'm going to show you at the end why Christo's rights were violated, and he's going to explain it in the meeting when he goes up there to speak, and they keep trying to, shut him up. And that's why all of this is happening right here, because they keep trying to limit freedom of speech. They're trying every tactic in the book. They want to get rid of Christo, and they've trumped up so many false charges on him, and it's bullshit. Keep watching, folks.
For stifling the First Amendment, and I've been like this for years on this. I myself don't run around, yelling and cursing at people in the stores, but I recognize it as a right. And I don't find it even shocking in the day that we live today because of what we see on TV and what we see on the little reels. It's coming from our children, right? So we've progressed. I mean, some of my council colleagues are younger than me, right? So you didn't grow up with my, yes, a lot, but you didn't grow up with like my grandmother. And what would happen if I used like a little dirty word, not even one of the 7 dirty words, but one of them ones before it, how much soap I had to eat as a child. But we are no longer in that generation because we, unfortunately, opened up that Pandora's box. That would be it. Thank you, Council President.
I understand. And as for the cursing, I believe it is okay to curse. If you need to curse to express yourself, that is okay. I hope you don't, but you are allowed to curse, and that is fine. What is not allowed is if you are not following the decorum, which is what the legal was trying to say. If, let's say, I were to ask you to stop and you continue talking over me and yelling over me, I do have a right to stop you and have you. Please don't talk from the public for the portion. Thank you. At the end of the day, you are allowed to curse, you're allowed to speak your mind, you're allowed to be critical of anybody sitting here, you're allowed to be critical of, and you are allowed to say what you want to say. But what you are not allowed to do is not follow the Robert's rule of decorum, which is why you have certain time limit as to what time you are allowed to speak, when you're recognized, you're not allowed to talk from the audience and disturb the person that is recognized. There are certain rules that we have to follow so that we can all be heard clearly, and that is all we ask. Simple as that. Moving on.
Like I said, if you guys stuck around, you guys must truly appreciate what you guys are watching. Richard Brescher, I'm going to give you guys his Facebook account so you guys can go follow him on Facebook. This is what we need as a people in our government, is people that believe in the Constitution and people's rights. You know, I do personally believe in law and order. I believe that if there's a criminal that creates a victim, that criminal should be caught and locked away. You know, this isn't a anti-police channel. This is a anti-bad police channel and bad government. You know, it's important that government officials do their job correctly and not have like no bid contracts for a kickback. You know what I mean? Like, we should definitely stand up to a lot of these government officials who do take advantage of the people, who do pocket tax dollars and overspend and get kickbacks and stuff like that. Like, we should definitely be making it a fair playing field for everybody, and even playing field for everyone out there, you know. And I'm also going to send you guys to Jersey Watcher's YouTube channel. He's a good friend of mine. He finally got his YouTube channel back, and what they did to Cristo was wrong. They arrested him and charged him with a whole bunch of false charges, and he's upset, you know, rightfully so. And you guys see his anger and his passion, and you know, who can blame him? You know, and I think there is the woman as well, Margot. She seemed to stand up for what's right as well, it seemed like. But definitely want to give a shout out to Councilman Richard Brescher here. Like I said earlier, other politicians should follow this guy and see, you know, what a true leader is like. You know, somebody who stands firm on, you know, what the foundations of freedom this country was built on. This guy gets it. Thank you, Jersey Watcher, Cristo. Thank you so much for all your tremendous work out there. You've taught a lot of people how to go into these public meetings and you know, how to demand your rights. And shout out to Councilman Richard Brescher as well for respecting those rights. You know, there's nothing wrong with a government official who, you know, does his job correctly and stands up for the people's rights. So with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.